Hey folks, welcome to a product review at Finominal. Today we're going to look at thematic funds. Specifically, we selected 4 funds from Natixis, Main, CCT, and Global XDW. Now, the idea of a thematic fund is to provide exposure to certain themes around the globe. This might be AI, cybersecurity, water, climate change. And ideally, that the fund enters the theme before it becomes popular, simply because once a theme is popular, these stocks tend to become expensive and at some point mean reversion sets in, which means the theme loses its popularity. Now, we've used the MSCI ACWI as the benchmark index because these 4 funds can select themes globally. Let's investigate in the sense of how similar and different they are and what value they have created for investors. We're going to kick off with the fundamental analysis. Now, these are all equity thematic funds. We can also look at the breakdown by geography. We do see that the primary exposure is to US stocks with around 60%, so very much in line with the US exposure of the MSCI ACWI. We can also look at the breakdown by sectors, where we do see some more significant differences. We do see that the product from Main, the Main Thematic Innovation ETF with the ticker TMAT, has a 64% weight to the technology sector, versus CCT has an underweight with 23%. The other 2 products, the one from Natixis and Global XDW, have weights to the tech sector that are in line with the MSCI ACWI of around 40%. Now, let's swap the perspective from sectors to factors. And we do see that the betas to the overall stock market are quite high for some products, 1.5, 1.2. Intuitively, we might expect that there is a positive beta to the momentum factor, but we don't see that. And so there's an overlap between thematic investing and kind of growth investing, but it's not necessarily the same. Simply because as a thematic funds, you can enter trends before they take off. So for example, you might invest in water companies in Brazil, and they might not be outperforming yet, right? Because you position yourself in advance of the trend starting to take off. Having said that, what we do see, that most funds have a negative beta to the value factor, which simply means that these portfolios are quite expensive. We can also investigate in terms of how concentrated or diversified those portfolios are. And so we do see 60 stocks, 108 stocks, and 52 stocks, versus Global XDW uses ETFs in portfolio construction. So, they're quite, they're concentrated to diversified. Now, finally, let's look at the performance of these funds. So what we do see here is quite divergent performance. We do see the cumulative return since 2021, so somewhere between 4 and 5 years of data. We do see that the product from Main has underperformed since 2021, but we do see that the product from Global XDW has underperformed even worse. And it's actually quite difficult to underperform this bad, simply because this ETF has been investing into different ETFs in largely rising market. So that is an accomplishment, but one that's naturally negative. It is also worth highlighting that the other 2 products are also not outperforming the MSCI ACWI. So none of them are actually just beating the global stock portfolio. We can also look at them from a risk return perspective, where the product from Main and from Global XDW exhibit a volatility that is twice of the market, Having said that, the other two products, one from Natixis and from CCTV, have volatility that is also similar to the MCRP, but they don't feature higher returns. So stated differently, none of those four thematic funds has generated a Sharpe ratio over the last, well, 4.8 years that is higher than that of the MCRP. And this concludes our short analysis of these four thematic funds, where none of them have, well, outperformed the market or generated a higher Sharpe ratio. And unfortunately, these funds are representative of thematic investing in general. So we published 3 or 4 research articles on this topic, and almost always is the conclusion that thematic investing is a poor investment strategy. And it's a very compelling investment strategy, because if you look at the fact sheet or the market materials of any of those funds, it will be nice stories that we come across, investing in water companies in Brazil, into AI or whatnot. But effectively, thematic investing implies, if you want to do it profitably, to anticipate trends before the theme takes off. And that is akin to market timing. And unfortunately, no one is good at that, which we can see here in these funds all underperforming a global equities portfolio. Hope that helps. Have a nice day.